She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Sports can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Advice, did you know that Arsenal died?
These got me puzzled.
Up the Toffees. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm gonna comment on that. Welcome back to another episode of Footy with the boys. A whole lot of footy to get through. A little midweek and weekend type of week for the Prem. That is where we have gotten ourselves here with Arsenal on top of the table. Nick, how are we feeling ending this weekend off?
Feeling lonely. It's lonely at the top, and that's where we are. So, feeling phenomenal, ladies and gents. What 7 games to go. If you told me 7 games to go, we're top of the table with what? Most goals scored, least goals allowed, most wins, best goal differential. Oh, it's shaping up to be a very, very, very entertaining last couple months.
Yeah, very entertaining last couple months. Nick may not be on the right track with saying it's lonely at the top, as it is by goal differential still the same amount of points as Liverpool and Man City.
I'm sorry, if the season ended today, who would win? Sorry, what was that?
Everton, because we stay up, baby.
The top face would be the big winners.
Huge.
We have plenty of big news from this weekend, recapping what was a wild Manchester United and Chelsea game, as well as some new FIFA financial fair play rules. Obviously, we talked about the new league leaders, but who is the favorite going down this stretch? Who do we like with the remaining schedule in mind? And of course, our relegation updates, our Toffee Talk with Mike here. We'll get into it all, but we start with what I said from the jump, the big news of the weekend. New FIFA financial fair play rules. Penalties incoming, question mark. Who knows if the Premier League will adopt this, but it has been proposed that instead of a point deduction like Everton and Nottingham Forest have gotten this season, that there'll be some sort of a NBA-style luxury tax system where if you go over, you have to pay a certain fee over that amount. To me, I think this sounds like a way to let Manchester City off the hook because they don't want to lose what would ultimately be a crazy amount of talent to other places in the world, because certainly you would have to demolish Manchester City in terms of point deduction. This seems like a way that a Newcastle, a Man City can just break all the rules and they'll just pay the money that they already have and were already willing to pay to be getting away chalk free. Mike, is that how you see this, or do you think this is some type of step forward?
Definitely not a step forward. It's a step back. Seems like it's going to be what the Prem was like before sporting regulations were put in. Cost of doing business is what you could call it for these bigger teams that have money to throw around, have money to play fines. It's not concerning to them. It doesn't benefit the smaller teams. The sporting sanctions, brutal. They hurt me as an Everton fan and Nottingham fans as well. But they're at least effective with getting teams to comply because they're scared of having that sanction that could actually affect their season and their revenue streams in the next seasons to come. So I'm not super big on this. I would need to see more details about it, how it would exactly work. I see that 17 out of 20 teams are currently backing it, so that's promising. I would like to see what those 3 teams who aren't supporting it are, if it's Everton. But yeah, need to see more.
Yep, and Nick, you could make the argument on the other side of this that if somebody extremely wealthy comes into the ownership of your club, they are no longer held down on their spending by how much revenue they have coming in. They could spend their heart out, get all the players they need to be a very quality side, and just pay a massive amount of the luxury tax, which obviously is not what the Premier League, I don't think, is necessarily looking to do with this, but it allows those loopholes, and as we saw with Todd Boehly and Chelsea, if there's a loophole, these insanely rich owners are going to find it, and they're going to exploit it. Do you think it's a way for the small teams to also spend that crazy amount of money, or is this really just money talking to the Premier League and They see that they can get more revenue out of it by teams paying the luxury tax, and teams are certainly going to be willing to do that.
It's definitely money talking. I like it's not there. There is no like what you just said could be a possible benefit. That's not real. I understand you like trying to play devil's advocate, but that's not an actual thing that's happening. I get where you're coming at, but I do think that I have not read these regulations super closely. I'm sure the same tweet that you guys saw was put in our group chat about this kind of hard salary cap, luxury tax kind of thing. Um, not with the salary cap, obviously, with financial fair play regulations still, but instead of the point deduction. If they do the same thing, because in the NBA, if you're over the if you're into the luxury tax, you can't go and sign other players, right? Like it only allows you to like give raises or extend players on your own team. So if something similar to that would happen, like it also comes with transfer sanctions of you can't go and buy other players. You have to get under the luxury tax, like through profits or through sales, through your own revenues, whatever it may be. Like I think that would make a lot more sense. The problem with anything money related is that in order for something to truly be fair, it's always going to have to be coming from transparency from really rich people. And really rich people probably got rich because they're not super transparent. So I don't think it's actually going to do anything other than keep Man City up and let Pep coach another 3 years until his team starts to suck. He gets upset and goes somewhere else. So, you know, there's ways I'd have to read it closer for it to work. Do I think it will? No. And also it's just complete crap for Everton. And if you want to toss Nottingham in there, then Nottingham as well.
Yeah, I think the pressure is maybe starting to mount on the Premier League to deduct the amount of points that 116 charges have to deduct. And they're starting to realize, yeah, we're going to lose like a World 11 of Manchester City and the world's best coach. I don't think they want that to happen to their league. That's a lot of revenue that they're missing out on. So I think they're just trying to find ways potentially around that, being like, maybe we could just do this, or maybe we do that, or
How old is Pep?
find different ways.
But it's also backed by 17 teams. Like
No
that's
idea.
not a small number, Like
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're being also sold those all these owners. Like Nottingham Forest is a crazy rich Greek owner that wants to spend a shit ton of money. This is his way to spend a shit ton of money and not have to worry about it at all fitting within his budget. He can go crazy one year, maybe pays that luxury tax, can't sign anybody until he gets under it. But I feel like people will certainly abuse that. But as I did mention, Todd Bowley, the American owner that has found all the exploits in all the previous systems in his brief stint as the owner of Chelsea, he had a hell of a game in our midweek. The rest of the game really went kind of as expected. Not this one. It was a 4-3 Chelsea win over Manchester United. Chelsea, early lead, 2-0, and then it all collapsed. Manchester United go up 3-2. They had already given out the man of the match award to Garnacho, who got the brace, and then Cole Penmelmer, trying to put pen in his name because that is
Right
all
there.
he scores. Cole Palmer is a penalty merchant, but he is a damn good penalty merchant at that. Gets the penalties here. The winner in the 90th plus 11 minute. It was not just that they allowed a late equalizer. It is that they lost this game from 3-2 up. Mike, I know when we talked about this game, I think Chelsea has these promising moves, but they never get the results. Manchester United always look shit, and they always find a way to get a result. Kind of flip the script here is that Manchester United looked as if they were going to get this win here, and then Chelsea ends up with the result off of a late goal. That seems like a Manchester United classic there, a late goal to get some points that maybe you don't deserve from a bad point late in the game.
Yeah, this game was insane. The amount of lead changes, how crap it was. The pens were both soft, clumsy challenges from Manchester United players, possibly not even pens, depending on the way you look at it.
They were not pens.
The goalkeeping was terrible. Manchester United's first goal comes from a terrible pass from Moises Caicedo. There was very little quality in this game outside of Garnacho's second goal, which I thought was actually pretty damn good. So, yeah, dude, this is a crap fest between two crappy mid-table teams at the moment. And Cole Palmer is a penalty killer. More than that, I don't think he's just a penalty merchant. But if you give that man the chance to shine from the spot, he's going to bury it every single time. It's unreal. That dude has found his spot. Really, really has.
Yeah. And honestly, as much as I do call him a pen merchant, he is the reason why Chelsea have any points and are getting close to where they can end their season at. But Nick, Cole Palmer brought in, and I was a bit skeptical of it because they had brought in so many players. Was not sure if a Man City academy product that had not really proven himself at a crazy level would be the huge signing that Chelsea and all that pressure brings would turn out the way it has. But Cole Palmer has been the reason Chelsea have had anything positive to look at this season. Where do you see Cole Palmer in terms of stars in the Premier League right now? Because he is certainly performing and getting those goals and assists at a very high level. Obviously, yes, pens included, but I mean, you can't knock the amount of numbers he has.
Cole Palmer. Oh, the guy with less open play goals than Kai Havertz? Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, he's solid. He's a good player. Yeah, sure. I mean, he's not what left. 60 million down the drain. Scored again this weekend, by the way. But Cole Palmer, where is he? He's definitely extremely marketable. The celebration's sick. Good for him. He looks like I like a little bear. He looks annoying when he does it, but it is pretty cool. Very marketable. Big fan base in London. He is good. He is a good player. He's not. I mean, he's not an elite player in any way. I don't think he can't carry a team. In case you can't tell, like he's not carrying a team. He's carrying a team to 9th currently. I don't know. I think he's a good player. He does nothing defensive. He has no work rate. He's a very good striker of the ball. He has pretty good vision. He has pretty good passing ability as well. A decent dribbler too. So he's definitely a good player, a solid winger. I mean, I think he's pretty overrated, but that comes with being the best performer at a big club that isn't doing well. He'd be holding bench at City still. Like that wouldn't change. So I don't think he's one of the elite talents in the Premier League, but he is a good player and he is having a great year, despite scoring less open play goals than one Kai Havertz. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Mike, where do you stand on Cole Palmer?
Are they both on 8?
Is he
I think he's even on open play goals with 9. Kai Havertz.
Kai has 9.
Unless Havertz went 1. Okay, with his goal today. Okay. I think he's a great player. Yeah, Nick's right. He does have some holes in his game. And would he shine the same way he has at another team? Maybe not. But 32 goal contributions, young player coming into a shit show. You got to give credit to him. He broke into the England squad. I don't know if he'll be on that Euro roster, but he'll definitely have a shout. He's very skilled. I think he can grow his game and be maybe not a Premier League legend, but a very high caliber player for a number of years.
Yeah,
he's also a Premier League legend. Jesus Christ.
I think
it's way in the future.
That's the standard that you're
if
holding
we're forecasting,
then yeah.
We're forecasting.
I will say
quite that high, but
I will say in today's market, an English talent for 35 million, like him, again, his output reminds me a little bit of Bruno Fernandes that first season at Man U, where everyone thought he was like all of a sudden the best player in the world. I think the output will go down, but he's still a very good player. I don't know if he's going to be one of the best players in the league for years to come, but he is good.
He is.
I think he's similar to Garnacho. I put him above Garnacho, but in that kind of young
player. He's way above Garnacho. Garnacho is such a fraud.
God, you have a lot of takes on these young, talented players.
Hating on children.
Come on.
Garnacho is certainly
Garnacho has a long way to go with this game.
Yeah,
You see the
Garnacho's
talent,
still
but he has a
very
long
young,
way to go.
but
Cole
he's
Palmer
raw.
is a
Yeah.
legitimate week in, week out starter.
He's
Yeah.
more polished.
All
Yes.
Let's get into the main race here, and that is our title race here. We have Manchester City, we have Arsenal, we have Liverpool. As it has been for the last however many weeks, it is a tight race. As we mentioned at the start of this, Arsenal has now found themselves on top. Still tied, though, on points with Liverpool. They've not broken away on the points, but they do come out on top off of goal differential. That span of them scoring 6-0, 3-0, 4-0, all those crazy score lines is the reason they are at the top of the table right now, because they could put those away against the teams that, yes, they should beat, but they beat them handedly. Manchester City, though, they were sitting behind Liverpool and Arsenal. Now they're feeling maybe a little bit better. They're only 1 point off the top of the table now. Mike, we're going to be talking who is the favorite of the Premier League here going down this final stretch. Take us through Liverpool here. They just got a 2-2 draw versus Manchester United, come back from 2-1. It is a wonderful goal in terms of technical quality by Bruno Fernandes, but a big mistake from Liverpool allowing that. And then Kobe Mainu, what an insane hit. That is a talent they have on their hands. Mo Salah comes to the rescue in the 84th minute for a point here. Keeps them level on points, but that goal differential knocks them down to second. You'd got to see this against a Manchester United that has not been playing well. I don't think they played particularly amazing in this one either. That this is a missed opportunity by Liverpool that is and was punished by Man City and Arsenal, both taking care of business on their ends.
Certainly, and this is the first pretty major slip up for Liverpool. They control their own destiny. They were top of the table. I had them as my favorites to win purely based on that positioning, because I feel like that's just what you have to do at this stage of the game. Everybody has tough teams left. Everybody's in pretty solid form, especially Arsenal, especially City, that you need to be on your A game, and every point is major. Liverpool showed lack of clinicality this game. They showed some holes that have been there all season, but were evident today. And I think Klopp showed some mistakes in his lineup and his tactics. This is the second time in a short period where Man U's got the best of Liverpool. The win in the FA Cup and a tie here, I think, is also a version of getting the best of Liverpool. Liverpool had chances. They weren't clinical. Darwin Núñez was awful today. Aside from assisting Luis Diaz on a flick header, so wasteful. He had multiple chances where he could have scored. He had a chance where he could have put Dominic Szoboszlai on an open net and shoots it
That one
across
was
the goal.
atrocious. Atrocious.
Terrible. Don't know if it's a pass. Don't know if it's a shot. I don't think he knows because he doesn't pick his head up very often. He's
No.
not aware of his surroundings. So no clinicality from their star striker at the moment, who's been pretty good. So that's disappointing. Salah wasn't on his A game today. He played fine, put his penalty away, but had other chances to succeed. Dominic Szoboszlai, who was amazing at the beginning of the season, has really lost his touch for his final ball and his goal scoring, and had chances that he just didn't put away. And when you don't put away those chances, when you have 27 shots and can't put goals in, you leave a team like Man U the opportunity to come get you. And they did that through a mistake from a young Liverpool player, Jarell Quansah. That's where I go to Klopp. I think it's a mistake to start him in this game when Konaté's healthy and on your bench. I think you have to start your best back line. He didn't. He trusted the youngster, and that inexperience showed with that lax pass to Van Dijk, unaware of the runner. Fernandes pressing, and he just has a piece of brilliance, happens to get it past Kelleher, who's just out of position. You leave those openings for Man U. They're not a good team, but they have talent in that roster, and they can capitalize on times, and they did today. Two moments of brilliance was enough, even though they got dominated in this match.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect explanation of what Manchester United really is it's not a great team. They're not playing amazing football, but they certainly do have the quality that Bruno Fernandes hits a ball from near half field, first time rolling across his body over the keeper and in.
That's
Wild
awareness.
mistake by Liverpool, but crazy technique to be able to get that in and above the keeper. And then Kobe Mainu just has a banger in him. That's not tactics, that's just talent right there. And Liverpool, from the tactics, had so many chances they just do not capitalize on. They've been so good at, regardless of what happens, whether they go down 2-1, whether they go down 1-0 early, they always come back because they have been able to be clinical. People have stepped up. It did not happen today. And I think that's going to sting that they no longer control their own destiny with a team like Arsenal, a team like Manchester City, both looking very good. And that's exactly where I go next with this is Manchester City. A 4-2 win versus Crystal Palace. De Bruyne is absurd. The man, after going down 1-0 early on Crystal Palace's first chance of the game, he said, no, no, no. Our title charge is not done yet. Goes down the field, amazing curling banger to start us off. Then goals just came flooding in for Manchester City. Rico Lewis gets on the board. Erling Haaland assisted by Kevin De Bruyne. And then Kevin De Bruyne with a left-footed strike to end the game there. 4-1. They allow one in with Ozan Edouard there late. I'm not too worried about them letting in those goals very early on and then very late. I think they may need to get a little bit more sharp in those opening and closing moments of the game, but throughout, I mean, they are just firing. I don't feel comfortable if I'm any other team in any competition. If Manchester City has Kevin De Bruyne playing like this, has Erling Haaland getting a goal, maybe he's not been the Erling Haaland that he was last year, but if he is scoring and Kevin De Bruyne is playing as well as he is, just like last year, I just don't know how Manchester City do not end up winning if their players, with the talent they have, is in the form they have. Nick, you're obviously on Arsenal's side of thing. Where do you see Arsenal with Manchester City playing like this, with Liverpool now giving you guys the control of your own destiny?
Currently, I see them top of the table. That is the site that I keep. Every time I look down on my phone, I've made the screenshot that I post on Twitter as my screensaver on my phone. So anytime I get an alert, anything, I'm just reminded. Oh yeah, look at us up there. Look at us, the best team in the league this year, and now with the standings to prove it. I feel good. I think our remaining schedule is the hardest of the teams, but we'll get into that in a second. So that makes me wary. But I feel good, especially because of what I saw from Brighton this weekend. From the game versus Brighton. In that game, we played, first of all, 3-0 defeat, 3-0 victory. A beautiful, beautiful game by Arsenal because we played about 3 different games. We started, kind of going back and forth, trading a couple of punches with Brighton. Brighton came out for this game. They played extremely well, I thought. And then, after those first 15 minutes where Brighton kind of settled back and started to defend more than they were attacking, they were still pressing incredibly high. We played kind of that tiki-taka, that beautiful football that we love to see play. A lot of one-touch passing, a lot of quick dribbles, and then, finding open space and behind, things like that, which eventually got us a penalty with Jesus kind of juking out Tariq Lamptey, I think the kid's name is on the right, who's actually pretty solid, by the way. And slotted away by Bukayo. And then really once Kai scored that, it was a lot of that for a while. Once Kai scored that second goal, we did what we did against City. We completely shut down. It was, haram ball, it was terrorism football, whatever you want to call it. But those last 15, 20 minutes, like it was impossible for Brighton to do anything. We gave up a lot of the possession at that point, but there was nothing they could do. And then you saw the counter attacking. We hit with the counter really late. What this showed me this game is that Arsenal has grown so much from last year where, I mean, I remember last year being so frustrated. It felt like we watched the same game over and over and over because there was just every team was playing a low block against us and we kept passing it around the 18, trying to formulate the perfect option to get in there. And sometimes we could and sometimes we couldn't, as is going to happen when you play like that against a low block. So it showed really the growth, the adaptability that's in the side. We can play several different ways. We're the leading goal scorers in the league, not just in total, but also off of corners. I think that shows a lot about the mentality and adaptability of this team. We're the best defense. I mean, everyone's committed. 93rd minute, Gabriel Hayes, it's 3-0. Gabriel Magalhaes gets like a diving block from a shot just at the very top of the 18, and 6 Arsenal players immediately come and mob him and are just so gassed up that he made this block to keep the clean sheet. We are, you know, we control our own destiny, and maybe at that point you start to get a little tight, but I've seen nothing from this team's mentality, especially from what we went through last year. I just don't really feel like if we lose, it's going to be because someone outplayed us, but it's not going to be because we shot ourselves in the foot. And that's a really comforting thought. Maybe it's because of too many fixtures of the Champions League. I don't know. Okay. I'm not saying we're going to win the league here, but I don't think it's going to be from an Arsenal collapse similar to what we saw last year. And I'm feeling really good about these final 7 games.
Yep, I think the mindset is certainly there. I was going to bring up that block that Gabriel had there at the end and immediately screams out, so pumped up. They're locked in the entire game there, and I think that's just something that maybe they learned from last year, that down the stretch, yeah, you need to just be locked in at all times. You cannot take a playoff because that might lead to the title slipping away. But Nick, but you did mention there are obviously still games left in the season, so Arsenal being at the top only really matters if they keep it that way. Big games left. We'll run through it with Liverpool being first. Liverpool has the Merseyside derby versus Everton. In a rivalry matchup, you never know what's going to happen. You have West Ham, a team that maybe has not been the most consistent, but has certainly some talent and that opportunity for an upset. Tottenham. And they have Aston Villa. Some tough games there, especially at those last two, Tottenham and Villa. You go to Manchester City. They just got through the gauntlet of Arsenal, Liverpool, and Villa. They're still going to have Tottenham. They're still going to have Brighton. They're still going to have West Ham. And they're still going to have Chelsea. All big matchups there for Manchester City. They've already gone through some trials and tribulations with some big matchups. Going to have to be tested again down the stretch. And then Arsenal. They have Villa. They have Chelsea. They have the North London derby with Tottenham. Once again, a rivalry matchup, you never know what can happen there. And then they have Manchester United, who obviously just proved that they can get results against a top team with what they just did to Liverpool. Mike, all that being said, who do you think has the easiest path, kind of with those big games in mind ahead?
I think it's City by a considerable margin. Like outside of Tottenham, who usually plays City pretty well, I think they handle the rest of those matches. I think Liverpool's path and Arsenal's are both hard. Both playing Tottenham and Villa is really tough. Liverpool playing Everton, derby match, tough. Arsenal playing Man U, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, City's got the easiest one.
Yeah, but Nick, I think there's a good argument to be made that Arsenal has the hardest one here. You still have Villa, who's sitting in 5th now. Tottenham has passed them up. You then have Tottenham, who's in 4th right now. So you have 5 and 4, and then you have 2 big 6 sides that aren't maybe necessarily in the greatest form, but they're going to give you a tough game. They have that quality like we talked about. Do you think Arsenal has the hardest road? And is that why maybe being in control of their own destiny is so important right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have the hardest road. I think Liverpool actually has the easier schedule. Stacking up those 4 games, you can't really see it, but the other 3 for Liverpool are not quite as difficult as City's. I think they have a game against Burnley in there or something like that. I don't know. I'm pretty sure if we take a closer look, Liverpool's might be slightly easier. That being said, for Arsenal, we definitely have the toughest path. You think of any Big Six game is just going to be a difficult game to play. All the energy that comes from it, the atmosphere. Toss in there that one of those Big Six games is against North London rivals. Is going to be interesting. That's going to be a tough game to play. Obviously, they've played pretty good football this year. They'll probably end up in 4th because Unai Emery's a choke job. But speaking of Unai Emery and a bottle job that he does have a lot of talent in that squad, which is how he's gotten to where he is. That game's next weekend. Douglas Luiz is suspended for that game, so I'm pretty happy about that. Helps our chances pretty considerably. I think he's their best player. So that's really helpful. But still going to be a tough game. I think we have the toughest path, and it's just for all three teams. You can't lose a game. You can't draw a game, really. You have to go into the mindset that there's 7 games left. That means we have to get 7 more wins. 21 points is what's going to win you this league. That's the only mindset that you can have if you're any of these teams. And then everything else just kind of falls wherever it will.
I mean, I think we saw that from Liverpool this week, that even a draw against a big 6 side like Manchester United is not going to get it done. You drop from first place down to second, and Manchester City and Arsenal are not holding down the brake. They're not slowing down at all. You have to be full gas, all ahead. And for Arsenal, besides playing Liverpool and Man City directly, you're going up against the 4th, 5th, and 6th place team. It's going to be a tough road, but then it'll make that title even more deserved if they do end up on top at the end of it. But we do scroll down now to another battle going on all the way at the bottom of the table. We have our Toffees. And our Toffees, me and Mike have been talking so long about how we just need a win. A win to feel safe. 3 more points in this type of a relegation battle is gigantic. And we got just that. It was not pretty, Mike. It was a effort goal, I think, is maybe the most honest and maybe nicest way to explain it. It was Big Dom chasing down the keeper, and it just bounces off his cleat and goes in. And that's okay. We get those, we win those, and we certainly take those. Mike, 3 points, though. As much of an effort goal, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't anything. Those are massive points. They are absolutely massive for Everton, and it puts us above Brentford now, above Nottingham Forest, and Luton Town, all beneath us. I feel maybe a breath of fresh air has been brought in here. Obviously not all the way through yet, but man, how does that feel? 3 points on the weekend. Feeling pretty nice.
It feels good, dude. And maybe an effort goal, definitely a Darwin Núñez goal. That was so shit, dude. But we'll take it, man, because they don't go in very often. Definitely not for Dom. And that's 2-2. A shaky penalty and a piece of luck. But, man, it felt good to see that go in. Ugly match. We out Burnley. That's the best way I can put it. There was a lot of sloppy play from Everton's part. Burnley actually had some solid chances through bad defense, through bad midfield play. And we really got fortunate that they had a player kind of lose his head for a minute there, get sent off, and that kind of secured it because we were able to lock it down with that player advantage. So huge sigh of relief. Not a good performance by any means, but the points are the points at this stage of the season. We are clear of the relegation zone by a good margin with a game in hand on most of these teams. So that feels good.
Yeah, certainly being that point ahead is extra points ahead is massive. It puts just extra teams between us and that area. Luton Town, though, are just Luton Towning their way all around the table. They are now tied on points with Nottingham Forest, and man, for what Nottingham Forest is doing to Gio Reyna right now, I might not be too against them taking that spot. Luton Town staying in the league. Nick, Brentford, like we said, got passed up here by Everton. The Bees were buzzing for a bit. They come back from down 2-0 to be winning 3-2. Massive result for them. Until it wasn't, because their former player, Ollie Watkins, in the 80th minute, ties it up 3-3. And like we said, drops them beneath Everton. They are getting dangerously close to that relegation. bad word association that
call
I
it the Everton zone.
Yeah, right.
That feels really bad that I can correlate those two words so closely. But getting close to relegation here is Brentford, and yes, they are not in Nottingham Forest positions. They are not in Luton Town's position, but they have just been constantly moving down and down the table. 7 games left. You can't be feeling good. Luton Town, Nottingham. I mean, neither of them can be feeling great. But who's feeling the worst here? Because Brentford are just constantly going down. Nottingham Forest and Luton have at least gotten a win in their last 5.
I think Nottingham feels the worst here. If I'm being honest, I think Brentford feels bad, but I mean that was a good performance against Villa. That was a good game and against a tough opponent. Brentford's been playing well. I don't know how they're down here. It's tough to every time I watch them play, I like what I see. So it's I don't know, maybe it's a bit of bad luck, but I mean, bad luck 29 points might be more. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm too infatuated with the bees. I don't know. But I still think they'll be comfortably safe. Especially once Everton gets hit with that second point deduction. And of course, I think Luton like their style of play feels like they're born for a relegation battle, you know? Like they're just scrappy. They're direct, they're attacking, they're high energy. Uh they're all that city's behind them. I think it's an interesting, I think they are feeling good about their chances. If you say that with 7 games left, you are tied for 17th place essentially. I think they feel pretty good. So I think they like where they're at. Nottingham, Nottingham, what an absolute shit show that club has been. Punctuated, as you said, by what they've done to our boy Gio Reyna. Look what they've done to our boy. But they weren't supposed to be in this battle. This is a team with heavy investment. This is a team that I know just got promoted 2 years ago, but I mean they spent a lot of money, brought in a lot of quality players too, just to find yourself here again. I don't know. I think they can't be feeling great. Their form isn't awesome. Obviously, no one's is down there, but every time I watch them play, I feel like they don't really know who they are. It's a tough situation to be in, especially when you don't really expect yourself to be there. And especially when you have a really scrappy Luton team breathing right down your neck. So if I'm Nottingham, I'm feeling pretty bad. I think that's my prediction for who gets relegated.
Yeah, I mean Nottingham certainly got hurt by that 4-point deduction. I think obviously they'd still be in the exact same spot in the table, but 4 points is a massive difference in a relegation scrap. And Luton Town are putting in goals and they are putting in really good performances. Obviously, get their win here by an extremely late winner, but they seem capable of pulling off upsets and results. Nottingham Forest, apart from a extremely unpredictable 3-1 win versus Fulham last week, I haven't seen anything that is all convincing of Nottingham Forest being a side that should or will beat out a Luton Town side here. Mike, is that kind of how you're seeing it? I feel like we're both kind of ragging on Nottingham here. I might be just straight from a bit of a Geo hater perspective, but
Yeah. I won't hate on them completely. They're definitely doing a lot of things wrong. That's obvious. We can all agree on that. They should be better than they are. But they're also on the misfortunate end of some seriously bad luck and poor refereeing decisions. There's been a number throughout the past weeks. Today was no exception against Tottenham. I think they got outplayed comfortably. Tottenham was better. But Nottingham scored, and Chris Wood seriously should have had another. He blasted one off the post point blank on an open goal. So it should have been a 2-goal.
Recess-esque miss. That was awful.
That was
Chris Wood did.
Really, really poor. But the refereeing decision that could have a serious impact on this game is James Maddison straight up fucking punched Ryan Yates, and VAR reviewed it, and somehow no consequence when it was the most blatant red card I'd seen. Didn't watch this game live. Had a buddy, Cody, shout out Cody, lose his mind
Cody.
on a text chain to me. Had to look it up and find it because it was deleted off Twitter almost instantly. Big brother, aka the Prem, doesn't want their mistakes out there. They want to protect their sweet boy, PGMOL. But that's awful, and it's not the only time Nottingham's been on the bad end of some refereeing. Everton knows a thing or two about that. So, yeah, they could be relegated. I still think they're just a bit better than Luton. But, I can't comfortably say they'll stay up. That's going to be a tight one to watch. And as exciting as the title race is, the relegation race is pretty exciting as well.
Yeah. speaking of goal differential separating the title race, goal differential separating the relegation scrap as well. And man, Chris Wood is just the definition of not thinking composure, not thinking, okay, let me just
No
put it away.
composure.
You
Runner
would
tried to
die
hit.
for Chris Wood. You would die
Oh.
for Chris Wood.
Oh, at Everton?
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
dude.
yes.
You would
But
By
in,
the
this,
die
end
in
of
for
that
jersey.
situation, I would love to have him. He has been a good option for Nottingham Forest, but
Scored a lot of goals.
man, like 2-3 yards out, and you decide to hit the ball as hard as you humanly can rather than just tapping it in is a bold choice.
That's
In
Darwin
the
Nunes, baby.
the easiest, yeah, that is. There's something that's happening to strikers that they think that all of a sudden you have to smack it as hard as you can. Speaking of smacking as hard as you can, the Tottenham defenders had the same exact idea, but it was going a lot better for them. They smacked in some crazy goals today.
Mickey.
Both Porro and Mickey
That
Van de Ven was a wild goal. Hats off to the defenders over there at Spurs, cleaning up the rest of the scoreboard from the weekend. Chelsea, off of their huge win versus Manchester United, kept that rolling with a 2-2 draw versus Sheffield United. Up the
classic.
Blues.
4 points in 6 games. Let's go.
There is that consistency that we have talked about so often. It is McBurney, I believe, that scored the in stoppage time leveler for this one. An absolute legend. Sheffield are racking up their points here against Chelsea. Newcastle came away with a 1-0 win versus Fulham. Yeah, somewhat predictable there. And then West Ham versus Wolves. Wolves took the early lead before West Ham comes back to win it. Not just off a corner, but off of a Olympico corner by James Ward-Prowse. If you're a goalkeeper, I don't think there's a single world where letting an Olympico go in is at all excusable. That is just a tough way to lose.
Is that where he just kicks it in from the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, just curved it in.
That's fucking rough.
Keeper was in the middle of the net, just kind of ran out, saw I was going above him, and then kind of let it go and just curls straight into that back. I just imagine as a keeper that is probably the worst feeling, seeing it curve at that last second into the side netting. But yeah, a hell of a way to end that one. And we move to our U.S. men's national team corner with a wonderful transition with West Ham being rumored to be interested in our American center back, Mark McKenzie. Mike, do you think that's a good fit for him? He's been at Genk and done rather well for them for some time here. Is it time for him to make that next step?
Yeah, I like it. Pretty big club. It'd be a big move for him. Hopefully it's not above his level. I really don't know. I think that's one that it's a big test and you don't know until you see him on the field, but I like it.
Yeah. I like him testing the waters. Also shout out in that picture, him at the Philadelphia Union. Philadelphia Union U17 just won the GA Development Cup. Kevin Sullivan getting the equalizer in that one. So the U.S.
Who did they play in the final?
The LA Galaxy. They both beat out River Plate and Flamenco in the semifinals. So they were battling it out with South America's best and brightest, and came out on top. Haji Wright. For all of our American fans, obviously we know that Leeds United are not that fond of Americans after their experience with Jesse Marsh, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Brendan Aronson. Haji Wright sunk them. They are in a rather tight battle for that last automatic spot in the championship. Haji Wright and Coventry came to town with a 2-1 win versus Leeds. Haji Wright getting that winner, and as people were commenting that he was an American, Leeds United was hiding the posts on their own replies. So love the hate really coming through there as a true hater. You just love to see some fine form like that.
A Leeds fan posted a video of 9/11 after he scored. Did you see that tweet? It was terrifying. I was like, "Oh,
Come on, man.
God, psycho."
Yeah,
Soccer is just more serious in England, Nick. I guess we don't understand.
I guess so. Fuck
No,
me.
The Leeds fans, I think, are wild. They are not fans of Americans in any form. So, and obviously shown by that tweet. But also, I thought it was rather funny that they could not handle the people saying he was an American under their own tweet and had to hide all those replies. And
Hey,
then,
Leeds fans,
of course,
1776. What?
What? What?
What?
weight
1812.
room, weight room.
2-0. 2-0.
Back to back.
2-0.
Undefeated,
Speaking
baby.
of an American that English fans were not fond of and then absolutely kills it, Christian Pulisic just scored his 10th league goal of the season, a left-footed banger to start their game versus Lecce. I mean, he started this game at the 10. This is something that the AC Milan fans have been clamoring for since they signed both Chukwueze and Pulisic at the start of the season. They thought maybe Pulisic in that 10 role, Chukwueze out wide, Leao on the other side, and Giroud up top, and that foursome was dangerous in this game. Pulisic started off with an absolute banger, left-footed. First time he has 10 or more goals in just league play for the first time in his career. So he is hitting new peaks. He has been their player of the season, you could argue. Love it. Pulisic finding a new beginning in Milan and absolutely loving life. They are in second in the table right now, passing up Juventus. McKennie, quick shout. He had an assist. Would have been his 8th or 9th, I believe, on the Serie A season. Ends up getting taken back for offsides. Maybe we should adopt that offsides rule, Nick. Give Weston
X.
McKennie his flowers. But
X.
U.S. players continue to be in fine form here.
Those
Mike-
jerseys are saucy.
Yeah, those jerseys are saucy. Mike, with the saucy jerseys in mind, the Americans, a lot of fine form here. Who do you want to see continue this form the most going into the summer? Obviously, a huge Copa America. Haji Wright continuing to be on fire. Pulisic continuing to be on fire. Who are the players, one or maybe two, that you think they need to be firing and in good form for them to perform well for the national team?
Let's keep it simple. Christian Pulisic, our best player. I want to see him play his best tournament to date. Goals going in, assists going in, creation coming through him. If he's really on it, I think he'll raise everybody around him. So come on, Captain America.
Nick, same question to you. Is it Christian Pulisic that just has to be that guy, or do you think there's somebody else that needs to be in fine form for the U.S. to make any type of noise?
It's whoever the number 9 is. Whoever you want to pick. Sargent, Ballo, Pepe, Haji, if you know you're delusional. Any of those guys, if that's what you want, then that it has to be the number 9. Whoever is our starter has to be in great form, and he has to continue it through Copa because you're gonna have to score goals this tournament. You're not gonna be able to play this Greg style ball where you win because the other team can't score. Like you're gonna play some real teams, and if you want to get some real results, you're gonna need a real striker to put them in.
Yep. And I saw this question posed that brings up this question that I saw on Football Americas that was brought up of, is it good that you have so many strikers for the US right now that is in crazy good form? You have Josh Sargent going crazy. You have Ballo that just bagged a brace. You have Haji Wright. You have Ricardo Pepi that's still playing well off the bench. You have all these options where, if you're speaking of the World Cup roster, you were looking for anybody that was doing that. You were looking for somebody who had some form. You have all these players with form, but nobody is grabbing that US job. Is it better to have one guy that's just in fine form and will absolutely grab that US job by the throat and say, this is absolutely my job? Or do you like this, hey, we're starting Battle this game, Haji this game, and who knows if Josh Sargent will be the next? Mike?
Yeah, I think competition is good. Raises the level of the other guys and makes camp more competitive as well. I think they'll train better. They'll know that the job is on the line. It's up for grabs. It's not a shoe-in for somebody, and that they'll have a real chance to get it. So, yeah, I'm fine with competition. I'd like someone to, raise their level and claim it at some point. But for now, it's a good thing.
Nick, you see it the same way, or do you think somebody needs to in lieu of better terms, alpha up at that spot.
Honestly, Mike kind of convinced me. I was gonna say no. If you have many options, you don't actually have one. But I think Mike's right. It's just, do any of these guys have the cojones to step up and grab it? And let's see if they do. But I guess you can't really knock a bunch of players in good form. So let's just let it play out.
Yep. I think somebody though, at a certain point, you have to have them step up and say, "This is my starting job, and it's going to take something to take it away from me." They're going to have to be the one scoring goals and continue getting starts because I don't like the game of musical chairs we have right now at the number 9, no matter how great all the club form is. Certainly, that'll be something we watch here on Footy with the Boys, and overall, just as U.S. fans going forward into Copa America, into the World Cup on home soil. Boys, another episode in the books. Mike, bring us down, bring us up, bring us wherever you need to.
Some tangential USA talk just to finish us off. Norwich sinks the mighty Ipswich Town. No Josh Sargent goal, but it is his team, and we love to see them succeed. Shout out him. Shout out the women's national team in the She Believes Cup. They come back against Japan to win 2-1. Who did they play in the final, Flags?
I do not know.
Canada.
It was Canada? Okay, Canada. I knew Canada and Brazil played. Didn't know who won that game. I believe that is on
Pete knows
Tuesday.
ball, dude.
Producer Pete does know ball. Check out our women on Tuesday as they look to win another trophy in quick succession, coming off that Gold Cup victory. Shout out my co-host, the cutest man on the pod, Nico Valderrama, turning the big 2-5 quarter century tomorrow. Drop some birthday comments down below and check us out on all the socials. Take us away, Nick.
I think
Also,
Nick
shout out
just died.
Caitlin Clark. Yeah, Nick.
Nick
Nick's
is dead.
a bit old, so he doesn't get technology too well. So we'll close it out here. That 25-year-old, I could never. I would never turn 25.
Ancient.
So could not imagine being quite that old. But we will close it there before his screen turns off. But until next time, peace.